Hello, YouTubers and fans of Miles Mayhem or the 65 Mercury Comet Caliente that I just built this last 2 years with a lot of help from many friends. And I just want to give you a bit of a overall update of some of the process, the week, and where we're at now, because she's broke right now a little bit. We used up the car. Okay. So anyway, we did a lot of work with getting this car ready to go. I mean, the interior is pretty much, stock. We didn't have time to complete all the wiring, all really nice and, tie it up nicely. We had lots of things on the list to do. We made time to make sure a good firewall was in place, good roll bar, all that kind of thing. And so that we did, of course, really well. Then we had lots of things that actually didn't get done in time as far as effectively goes. So we have a bit of a list here of items that didn't make the list. So we ran without horns, e-brake, reverse lights, alternator belt was a bit loose, phone charger we had a make do kind of thing. We barely fit the trailer in the trailer. We didn't do a good job. We just did that. So that we didn't optimize the trailer as far as how it should be put together. There's a nice front and tie down mounts that we didn't do, and there was a front travel limiter that would help us launch better. So we didn't get any of that done. Okay, but we did get the stuff that was major to get done completed. So that was, really quite good. Just a bit of a look at some of the things that, were done quite well. I think that the, the road race tank in here was just fantastic. Having a cover for it out of an old $10 scoop that I put on top of, from a swap meet was really good because that helped us make sure that we had a cover for rain. A little race tank in there worked out really good. The switches for going, race tank on or off and road tank on or off really worked quite well. Battery placement really worked well as well. So that was all good. We ran in a 750 class after our first test and tune on the Sunday night, and found that it was pretty good at, around that time, at 7.50 time. We had crested number 65 because obviously it's a 65 Mercury Comet, and away we go. Stickered up the car with the various things that go on it, and our adventure began. It's at that point that we decided that we'd really like to be done with the car, about, 1 or 2 passes, and then to pack up and go and travel together with Braden, my son, with a 68 Torino GT fastback, the 428 powered, and also travel with Ray Dewick in his 61 Fairlane that I was the co-pilot for last year, with my cousin and his friend co-piloting this year, Mike and Keith. They're really good at things, mechanics in general, but also with nitrous, and that really helped Ray this year and all. So that was our little traveling group. It didn't quite work out that way. We didn't travel very much together. Actually, there's lots of, separation. But anyway, other than that, it was a really good time sort of together to do that. We started the thing, and we wanted to run 1 or 2 runs. Like I said, we ran at least 5 runs as far as our car goes at each track, and sometimes 6, and I think once 7 times. So I'm thinking I've got 31 runs on this car this week, but it made it the whole week, which is pretty good considering that it was, like I said, fresh built and didn't have time to go underneath and check all the bolts for tightening yet. Just got it on the trailer and the big trailer, and then this behind it, and took off for Edmonton to start the whole journey. That in itself was a long way to go from Winnipeg, but we got there, and it was good. And, really enjoyed the road miles. Really did. It was a lot of fun just cruising down the road, and the smell of the crops in the air, listening to the high performance engine going, and and just, all that stuff. On day one, we decided that it was really hot. It looked like it was going to be really hot going into Saskatoon, so we took the hood off. A preemptive thing to keep it cooler. We still ran 6 runs, I think it was. Had a really, a decent pass to hand in. Got in there, packed her up, and away we went. Braden, as you will see in some of his videos on Classic Calamity, did a lot of work on his car. He rebuilt, I think, some of the carburetor the night before. We did, trying to remember it all, it seems so long already, but he did a lot of work on those, on some, a few different systems, and was able to run a pretty decent run at the track, and we all left together. So that was really fun. Now, we got lost a little bit in Edmonton on getting to the first checkpoint at JB Power Center. Who knew they had 4, right? So we didn't know that. We ended up going through some construction traffic, overheated the car a little bit, and got that big bucket you saw earlier full of water sitting in the back seat, about 2/3 full, and carried that around most of the rest of Miles Mayhem in case we needed to cool the engine down a little bit, toss some water on it or pour some in the reservoir or whatever we had to do, right? So just was our insurance there. So we ran a few runs at Saskatoon. Didn't really feel happy there. We got up early in the morning. First of all, we pulled into Saskatoon Hotel at about 12:30, 12:20, something like that. And the party was still going on, and it was really nice. People, walk up to you, hand you a beer, say, hey, you made it. It was a lot of fun that way. Talking to some people and then hit the sack and get up and do it again. We got to the track. We wanted to, at that point, check and redo all of the lash on the valves. Now this is where, I just had somebody beforehand tell me that you don't have to make it that terribly tight, just tight. Don't go crazy on it, kind of thing. And so kind of took that advice, and maybe I should have done a little tighter, because at the end of the day, at the end of the track, I had one that popped loose and I lost a nut. I'll have to look for it now. But I also lost one in Saskatoon that was interrupted when I was doing the lash tightening and everything else by somebody I hadn't seen in 23 years. It was fantastic. Good to see them. But, I checked for the feeler gauge afterwards, didn't check to see if it was tight. It was the right feeler gauge, great. I didn't tighten the bolt. The nut, top of the bolt, adjuster nut. So by run 6, it worked itself loose and started popping and banging, and it sounded horrible, and I thought I was done, right? Ended up being just that the rocker arm, the adjuster nut backed off, and it took the thread right out of the rocker arm as well. So it wasn't opening the exhaust valve, and so the combustion, let the, intake, mixture of gas and air in, and then combusted it, but couldn't pop it out until it got the intake valve open again and shot it through the carburetors. Bent both pieces of metal on the carburetor, and flame was shooting up, and I limped it into, at low RPM, very low as I could do, into the track area, and then they pushed me into the pits, and I had the spare parts. So that was great. So we got through that. Took us, I don't know, about an hour to get that done, and then packed up again. So that was something we had to work with. And then we headed off to Medicine Hat a little bit late. Got into Medicine Hat again after midnight, but it made it, okay? Everything else was working fine on the motor. So that's good. And we ran really well at Medicine Hat. That track is a good track. We really like it. Everybody did well at it. We had a lot of fun. But I must say that on the first 2 days, with a fresh car and all this kind of concern about what's going to go on the road okay, which class was it going to compete in, how's it going to work and stuff, I forgot to have fun. So if you ever build a car for an event, be sure to be in the moment. Don't lose it like I did. After that, my son Kyle, co-piloting for Braden, had a talk with me and said, Dad, you're not exuding a lot of fun, everything else. I was like, yeah, I got it. All of a sudden I had a lot more fun. Day 4, traveling over from Medicine Hat to Rimbey, Central Alberta Raceway. Beautiful traffic through Drumheller. Just really, started to take it in. We did have a couple of problems up until that point with some water wanting to leak out of the thermostat housing, but we just kept tightening it down. And again, we should probably use some things like Loctite on there because it just wants to back off. So anyway, you know, we kept tightening that, but other than that, didn't have any trouble. Got to Rimbey at a decent time, actually. Like, I think we got there at like 9:30, 10 at night, which is not too bad. The rain cover scoop worked out pretty good because it started to rain there a little bit. And so we did all that, had a good night's sleep, good breakfast, and we hadn't had lunch. We hadn't had lunch yet. You know, at this point, we're hoping to get lunch later on that day. No lunch. But the track was excellent. It looked like it was going to rain all day. They made a call to try and get us in there. We made, you know, the first pass, you know, I could hand in. Second pass, I could hand in a really good punt. So it took the pressure right off. I was having lots of fun. And but Ray was on a struggle bus. Really hard, you know, to get a good time for him. And, you know, we determined that just like last year we had that car just hates Rimby. Rimby hates that car. Bad combination. But you know what? Last pass of the day, he nailed it. It was so good to see. And he did it really well. And so we left that track with late, but with a lot of hope, and we were having a great time. But the problem was we had lost Braden in Saskatoon. He blew his motor. Blew it. His rod was knocking, so we got to take that apart. And, you know, these last two tracks we were at, it didn't feel quite good because we had lost a comrade along the way. He still came along and followed around with us, along with his lovely wife, Sherry Ann. And, of course, Kyle was there helping film things, and he'll get a bigger film put together as well on all that on this whole trip. But it just felt kind of bad. That was the only negative we had, but he wasn't getting into better spirits the longer that sort of went away from it. So then we headed off with some hope to try and get to the last track and see if we could survive it. Hit the checkpoints along the way, of course, a checkpoint along the way. Got to the track and thought, man, all we got to do is get to the actual racetrack now with this car, run it down the track, and we've completed Miles Mayhem. And it did that. It was fantastic. But I tell you, everybody in the 7.5 class had a real hard time that day in Edmonton or Nisku, Rad Torque Raceway, if you like, you know, trying to get down the track at a 7.5 time. I started off and I went like 7:37, like, and it, you know, it just, and that's so, okay, fine. Let's put the air filters on there, and just, you know, I was just running with a screen, and that went too slow then, and, you know, and then a red light here and there, and, you know, and breaking out. I could not get a good pass. Finally got a pass near the end, third from the end at my runs, but the last two or three runs started to go slower and slower. Couldn't figure it out. And then I turned it off because something started to sound a bit like it did in Saskatoon. And sure enough, here's what happened. As you can see, right here, we have no nut on here. It came loose. And so I pulled it into the pits, and my buddy Dave, the pilot, and my co-pilot says, Rod, get out there. You got to get a better pass. And I, well, I can't. Something's wrong. Something's hurt. So we went looking for this thing, and we pulled off these valve covers, which I really like. You know, 300 horsepower marine valve covers, right? Looks a little bit more than that now. Still not false advertising because it's still 300 per side. A little more, maybe. Anyway, couldn't find it. So there was an award ceremony to go to, etc. So we had to go look at that, and then, you know, through all this, we had a moment where we had to get out of the parking lot there and get it over there. So we towed it out of the parking lot, and, you know, actually just pushed it into the big trailer after we got the little trailer in there, and then we hauled it home. Okay, so here's where we're at. You know, great week, a lot of fun. Eventually remembered how to have fun, and you know, did a lot of great drag racing. I think, like I spent about 31 runs. You know, really enjoyed it. But now we don't know where this nut is. I spent some time looking all over the nooks and crannies that are in here to try and get, you know, did it just fall out when we took the valve cover off? Because it would be from here, it would roll down into there and maybe just fall off. I mean, I can't find it anywhere. I've determined it's not in there. It's just not. So now we got to see, like, did it find its way down into these passages and make its way into the oil pan? I don't know. I have a magnetic plug on there. We're going to check that out and see that now, okay? So, let's see where that adjuster nut is. I'm supposed to be going to a nostalgia event here in Manitoba, but we don't have, oh, one-handed, and no, okay. We don't have, I can't go there until I know where that nut is. So let's see what happens. I'll get back to you right away. Okay, here we are. Just back from Miles Mayhem, looking for my lost adjuster nut. The first thing you notice is that, yeah, it could, you know, we put a lot of miles on this thing and it actually could use another oil change. And I do have spare oil here, and we don't see the adjuster nut come falling out. And attached to the end of here, it's a little bit of sludge, metallic sludge, but not bad at all, actually. Not bad at all. Okay. But what is in there? So lots of nooks and crannies in this crazy thing that I did look at. I mean, it's got, you know, motor mounts you could bounce something into along the headers. There's a nice little tray you could bounce into along here on the other side. No, it's not in there. You know, and in behind the alternator, there's a spot there. Behind the starter, there's a spot there. Starter wrap is a spot there. It's not in any of those places. So I do have a bit of a scope here aboard from Dave Kublik, who's doing some work at a camp right now. So we're going to try and look in there. But as far as this goes, we don't feel it right on the edge here attached to the magnet or anything. So where is my adjuster nut? Not in the oil. Okay, so now I've put the camera on the end of this video screen down into a hole that's closest to where it might have fallen in if it did. This one here, this hole here, is just, you know, it's got nowhere to go. There's a rod in the place there that goes through. If you see if the intake goes right down there, blocks it. So it's not through there. It's not down the oil hole. It's too small. So working my way across, I'm going to check and down this hole. So let's have a look at the screen here and see if we can locate through video technology. And it's not, looks like it's not in that area that we can tell. So let's try looking in a different place. No. No. Oh. Ho ho ho. There it is. That is my adjuster nut. Okay, we have found it. That's great, but there she be. And it hasn't affected anything, hasn't damaged anything, it's just in the wrong place. So now we got to try and figure out how to get it out of there. Well, I'm relieved to at least have found it. Great job. While we got the camera going, I just want to show you how little space I have in this car, trying to fit everything in, as far as space for my water pump pulley and the motor for this fan, try and cool it, right? Now, it rocks away from the motor, so I thought it was okay, but there's like, seriously, less than a centimeter in between there. Maybe half a centimeter at most, a little less. So, a lot of things in terms of just, making things fit. Bashing in, the side of, the valve cover without, affecting the rocker arms, to get, be able to get this in and out past the master cylinder. Shaving this, the shock towers, which almost makes it impossible to have an alignment. But with 3.5 hours of effort, the alignment shop was able to give me a pretty good alignment, to make that fit in there, right? Places to run fuel lines that were safe, et cetera, et cetera. This cord here that you see here is to make my alternator work and pass tech and shut off with everything else. It's an old extension cord we found in the trailer when we were at Swift Current, had to make it work somehow. So, lots of little things. This down here, at the end here, if you look at this carefully, you go like, well, that's interesting. This is a tire valve, air pressure, valve, that we made work into this bracket so it would fit better than the cheap plastic parts that keep breaking. So trying to find ways to make everything work. Need a little bit of Loctite on this nut. Tried to back off during Miles Mayhem. There's just lots and lots of stories in this thing. You notice these things are a little bit bent, if you can see that. That's from when they folded over when the backfiring came through here. I think part of what saved me and all that, the big backfires, having two carburetors, it sort of had two places to go and didn't wreck anything by the looks of it in any one. So two carburetors, more complicated, but in this case, kind of helpful. Anyway, we found our nut. Now it's just a matter of trying to get it out. May have to take off all the intake and the carburetor, etc. It means all the push rods have to come out and everything to get at it. But we're going to try and use a tool that goes on the end of this scope, a little magnet, try and pull it out of there. I don't know. That's tricky, but we're going to try that first.